All right, guys, we got another special guest for you today. We got Jamin Coller. He is a fellow deconstructionist. He is an accomplished musician and author, and I think he's going to tell us a little bit, why he left his fundamentalist Christian faith, and we're going to hear a bit about his story and kind of get into it.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to hear his perspective on that path.
All right, Jamin, thanks so much for being on the show with us today. You've got quite the deconstructionist story, and that seems to be a pretty popular topic these days. There's a lot of people, I think, going through similar situations. So maybe we could begin with a little bit of our story for our audience out there. They could find out a little bit about who you are, what you got going on, and how you got into this spot.
Yeah, sure. I don't even know what this spot is, but I guess we're all an attorney, and currently I'm wherever I am, and I don't even know what the labels are for that yet. But I know the labels from where I came from, so maybe we could start there. So my dad was a pastor, I was a minister. 39 years into my committed love of Christ in the fundamentalist evangelical definition of that. I started to have, I guess I got permission after being, kicked out of church is the easiest way. I've always been kind of a pain in the butt because I have not been willing to say that things make sense when they don't make sense. That doesn't mean that I'm right, but some things, like for example, nothing can pass the speed of light. Like that seems weird. Nothing? What if I'm on a beam of light and I go and I reach my finger out? Like that doesn't make sense to me. I'm obviously wrong. I'm not Einstein, but I can't say that makes sense. I can just accept that as a truth. And that same impulse has followed me, theologically and everywhere else. Just like, okay, I can say the Trinity is three people in one and they're all separate, but they're all the same. But also, it doesn't make any sense to me.
How dare you care about honesty and cohesion and
Right. Yeah. That is one of the messages I got quite clearly. So Anyway, I've been that kind of a pain in the butt all along. And so I guess it's, let's see here, trying to put some labels here. About 4 years ago, I was, kicked out of church is probably the easiest way to say it. And I lost my community. That was my life. I lost my life 4 years ago and was left with basically nothing. Yeah. Wanted very much to get off the planet. Almost successfully accomplished that. And then finally realized, well, if I'm going to be on the planet, I guess now there's no point in holding on to these things I was holding on to and trying to not be annoying about because I was afraid I was going to lose my community because I already lost it. So let's dig in. Let's make a list. What do I actually think? What do I actually know? What do I actually have questions about? And started reaching out, trying to discover the answers to a lot of the questions. And the answers were not forthcoming. And I started asking people who should know, and they didn't know. And I asked the people who are above them, and they didn't know. And I looked on the internet, and so I'm getting this list of questions. As I'm researching the answers to this list of questions, the list is growing. And this is troubling to me. I don't want a longer list. I want a shorter list. That's why I embarked on this journey. So I got a letter actually from a fellow minister who informed me, of course, of all the things I was used to, my pride and all that other stuff. Who you think you're better than Einstein, kind of a thing, but in Christianese. And so,
Christianese. That's a word we throw around.
Yeah. So he was like, you deconstructionists, you think that you're all, and I was like, whoa, hang on, what? I don't know what that is. But apparently you think I am one, and the things you said about deconstructionists don't apply to me. And so if we could just separate me from that title, I'd really appreciate that. Also, the people that I'm talking to, none of them have said the things that you're saying about us. And I mean, the parallels for pretty much all the tribal in-groups, out-groups start really applying here. Of just we're not like you say we are. And if we were, I wouldn't be hanging out with these people. So I wrote a letter back to him, just pleading for like a release of labels. Just whatever you think of deconstructionists. Some of the people in this group call themselves that, but that's just because they feel like things are falling apart, and deconstruction sounds like a good word for them, but apparently sounds like a bad word to you. So, you know, we're not what you think you are. We are. And so anyway, I kind of gave a list of my stuff, and then of course, didn't get any response back about the questions. He was very kind about the deconstructionist label, but then my list is still growing. And so then I'm starting to like just post this stuff on the internet, just like somebody, anybody got some answers for this stuff. So then eventually I turn it into a book, because I'm talking to these other deconstructionists that I'm friends with, these horrible people. Then I'm realizing that I've been thinking about some of these things, a lot of these things, a lot longer than they have. They're just now coming to their realization of, wait a second, maybe not 100% this stuff is true. And I'm like, I've been saying this for 20 years. This is weird. And so anyway, so as they're like, well, thanks for telling me about that, I kind of put together the list in book form. And so initially I called it Dear Evangelicals, because I was like, can anybody help me with this list? As I was preparing to publish it, I got feedback from evangelicals and non-evangelicals, like, no evangelicals are reading this book. They're going to take one look at it, see your list, and realize you're not a Christian, and no one's going to read it. So really, just any other title except for, this is not for them. You might have intended it for them. You might wish that you could connect with them. You can't. So name it anything else. So that's the book that turned into this, which is If I'm Really Honest, and it's just basically an index of like, here's a ton of questions that I ran into. Here's all the research that I did, and I still don't have answers. And hopefully someday a bunch of these will get answers. But for right now, for where I was in that moment, those were the questions that I had. So I've heard that that's been helpful for people who are like starting down that, because you don't realize the Pandora's box that you're opening when you get into that stuff. Like
not even at like truth necessarily yet, just the concept of honesty. Like something as simple as I don't know is, I think, very valuable to people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And that's very much the spirit of that, is like, I'm just a piano teacher from Sacramento. Like I'm not the professional on this stuff. If you come up with an answer for this, or you can talk to your pastor or your pastor's pastor and come up with an answer, let me know, because I'm still curious. But so far I haven't found any answers, and it seems like maybe this part isn't quite right. So, anyway, that's that book. But my heart is still with the people that I feel like I am. Like for 39 years, I'm an evangelical. And if you just like woke me up in the middle of the night and were like, are you a Christian? I'd probably be like, yes, of course, I'm a Christian. And then if you were like, well, what does it mean to be a Christian? I'd probably list a bunch of things that I don't do or believe. So I don't know what I am. But I feel like those people are my people. That's where I came from. And when I was hurting people the way that I've been hurt by them, I know that my heart was to love them and to do good things. And I caused a lot of pain, a lot of grief that is difficult to look at. And so that's been part of my own journey, is like, oh crap, look, look at what you've done in the spirit of trying to save people. Maybe don't work so hard at saving people anymore. Maybe just try to be a good person, be a nice person, and share your experience, share your testimony. That's cool. Maybe not preach at people. So that's been my own thing. There are preachers out there. Cool. That's all good. I'm not saying other people shouldn't preach. I'm just saying I'm a little bit allergic to it based on what I've seen come from my own preaching. So then the book is really about knowing that my heart was good while I was in that world, and seeing the pain that has caused. I feel like I've got a perspective of like, oh, I see. These people over here that I thought I was loving, this is their actual experience. And so when people leave church, the church has reasons that they left, a long list of reasons. you were never really saved. You just want to follow your own sinful desires, and the list goes on and on and
You're
on.
still
And
saved, you just don't know it.
Yeah.
I know people that get irritated by that. Like they've decided they're not Christian, and people will be like, don't worry, I know that you're still Christian. And they're like, I'm really angry at that. Like, I don't like that.
I'm an atheist. And then they'll respond, oh, there's no such thing as an atheist. Like, oh, dang. Yep, I said that one too. I remember that. That's rough. So yeah, stuff like that, where just like, I don't think that the church, and I say that as one of them, understands what we are doing, have done, in our accusation of the people who have left, because I feel like I am one of those. And so this is a hopefully a really clear look at the people who have left the church, because they're leaving in droves. The church is screwed. It's going away. And so the church all wants to know, how can we keep people from leaving, because they're all leaving because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, wait, no, it's not X, Y, and Z. It's actually the things that they said. Here's what they actually meant when they said those things, and they really meant them. And here's what you've said to them, even though you didn't intend to.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the spirit of the second book. And it really is dedicated, written to evangelical leaders. Probably the so far the greatest number of readers of it is what Christians would call deconstructionists, people who have gone through the faith crisis. And then in most cases, in a lot of cases, they'll be like, yeah, this is what I've been trying to say all along. And then they are ordering copies for their pastors. So I think that it's addressed to evangelical leaders, and it's getting to them through the people in their congregations that are buying it for them. So
this is an odd. Do you mind if I just ask a question real quick? In an odd way, would you like to see some sort of a revival in the church, but of a different like I remember one of the last times I went to church, I asked the pastor of that church if I could talk to him after the sermon. I had some questions right at this point in my life. This is the last time I was really sat down and watched one. And his answers to the questions I were asking were so childish that I felt bad for him afterwards. And I was like, oh, this is like this is like a naive person. And I walked away being like, okay, I guess I got to go do this path by myself. Yeah. You know, after being being a man, like growing up in the church. But at the same time, I see what you're saying about like, these are your people. If you woke up in the middle of the night, you might still be like, yeah, I'm still like people. I don't want to betray our audience, but like every now and then I'm like I still pray to Jesus every now and then. I don't even know what's up with that. I wouldn't, most of the time I'd say I don't believe in Jesus, but weird things happen when you've been indoctrinated for so long. So is there a part of you that would like to see a second version of the evangelical life, but maybe with just like more honesty or something? I don't know what it is. Like, has this improved your life? Is it fair to say that in some sense you've oriented yourself towards honesty, and has it been an improvement for you? Do you think this is something other people would benefit from being like?
Okay.
That's a lot there that I just said.
Yes. So I'll go in reverse, and I'll forget a lot of the earlier questions. Being more like me, no, that does not improve your life at all. If you can avoid it, if there's any way that you can stay in the dark, it's more comfortable in the dark. So I am genetically predisposed or something to like I said, I have an allergy to internal dishonesty or something like that. I didn't have the option. Like I wasn't being a pain in the butt when I was growing up in the church because I wanted to be a pain in the butt. Like I just really had these questions, and like, but you didn't answer it, right? Like I'll shut up, but you didn't answer it, right? Yeah. Yeah, so I wasn't intentionally irritating, and this is not like I'm just so truthful that I couldn't help it. Like it's in me, and so if that's in you, I don't know that you got a choice. Like you're gonna go through this, and a lot of people who don't make it out, and so it's scary. It's not recommendable. Also, on this side of it, I wouldn't want to go back, but there's a lot of things like that in life. It's
It's like the Matrix, for Pete's sake. You're like, came out of the Matrix or something, and you're like, I wish I could plug back in.
Right. Yeah. Well, in that analogy keeps coming up. So as far as your question though about like, would I want a revival? That one's interesting. I propose it in the book because I'm speaking to evangelicals, and I have great empathy for the people. I was there. People left the church, and I told them all the reasons that they were leaving and all the reasons it was bad that they were leaving, and I prayed for them to come back, and then we kept on doing our thing and grinding down more souls and sending them out. So I wouldn't want that machine to get bigger and grind up more souls. However, I think the people who are running the machine have souls too. And I would love to see them be able to more effectively fulfill what I think is their deeper goal, which is to love people and connect with people and help people. I don't think the way for them to do that is to make the machine greater. But it was a sucky machine. It was the best we had, and every machine that we've ever had has been that way. Like, it sucked. We made a better one. And that's what happened arguably with Catholicism when we got Protestantism, and we're like, you know what, thanks a lot for bringing it this far, but we're doing something different because your machine has become toxic. And that's essentially what the Catholics said to the Jews. It's what the Jews said to the polytheists. Like, we keep having these like, well, thanks for getting us here, also we can't do that anymore because that's just freaking evil. And so I think that's where people are with the church right now. And the statement, that's just freaking evil, the church takes that personally, and I understand why. Like, the Catholic Church took it personally.
What if like Jesus knew that people were going to make a religion out of it, and like you're the result of something buried within, like when Jesus says stuff like, I'm the way, the truth, and the light, like I am equating himself with truth. Maybe that was like some Manchurian level, MK Ultra, like for the future candidates to be like, truth is important. I got to be honest that I don't like know what's going on. Maybe the seeds of what he was actually saying were meant to withstand eons of like blind religiosity or something, and then become true later. Maybe he was that level of a genius or something. I know this is getting a little conspiratorial, but
yeah. Well, regardless of whether the facts of that are historical or not, the sentiment is true, and the message of the legend of Jesus, or this, to whatever extent this is all literally true. The message is, don't think that you've arrived. Like, you Pharisees, you think you got it down, but you don't have it down. So if you have that moment of like, oh, I get it now. All right, guys, let's go. That's the dangerous one. Don't go with that guy. So, and that includes me. Like, if you find a book out there that's like, this is the right way to do church, don't follow that guy, because he's probably the good-hearted, unintentionally dangerous one.
Yeah, that's so hard. Like, sometimes I'm the bad-hearted egomaniac that's like, everybody should just follow me. Like, I'm susceptible on all fronts, but I resonate so much. Just before, I know you got some questions, but I resonate with your thing of like being a troublemaker but not really intending to. I felt like that was a lot of my thing, just with sincere questions. And like people almost like, you don't get it, like shut your yap and study your stupid book, like just do as we do. And I was always causing trouble by asking weird questions and interrupting things. But anyway, I'll let you ask.
I wanted to say, part of like, as I was following some of your content, one of the things that really stuck out, which is kind of unique, I think, like right now in this phase of deconstructionists popping up all over the place, was kind of your compassionate heart around it towards those who still remain, those who are still part of the faith, and where does that come from in a world filled with, like, right now a very popular trend is hammering religious people over the head with their, what they deem as their version of truth or their new enlightenment. while, you seem to have more of an empathetic route, which kind of like sticks out. Where does that come from? And I don't know. Me personally, I feel it's way more effective than the hard hammer. But also, part of me realizes why there is such a hard hammer out there at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I think probably both are important. Where it comes from in me, perhaps, if I know the answer to that question, I would probably point at the fact that it is me. Like I've heard from the people who I hurt, and I can see how I hurt them. And I'm glad that we didn't, that the hurt people didn't win the day and just obliterated all the bad people, because I was the bad people with a good heart. And so I think obliterate all the bad people probably, that would have wiped me out. So I can't vote for it anymore. Change the what the bad people are doing. Protect innocent people 100%. Protect innocent people from me 100%. But yeah, I can't bring myself to hate very many people right now, because I feel like they probably represent some part of me. And so that goes for both sides. Now, I understand that message is re-traumatizing, hurtful, other negative things for people who have been hurt by the church, and they feel like, but someone needs to punish the bad guys. And I agree. So like, if you got the hammer and your calling is the hammer, I've got a lot of compassion for that guy too. He stands up for innocent people, and he or she is doing God's work as well, by validating and protecting the people who need that. So I'm hoping that I can do that. I'm not violating that sacred space for them, while I try to empathize with people who I think are good-heartedly, wildly misguided in their.
How could you when you just put the time and effort to be so specific? I love how specific you are with your language.
Yeah. Well, you're not alone out there, because probably as someone who actively worked himself, in his early days in the church, there's things I said that I'm ashamed of doing. God. There's things I did that I'm
people
ashamed
that thought I was joking.
That like
oh, they need to like change their ways and go to the Lord, or they're going to go to hell. And people would be like, ha, ha. I'd be like,
right.
They're like, right. Don't invite him again. Weirded people out.
So like, I think there's a lot of people out there that when they're confronted with like maybe some new ways of thinking like that, it's like part of the block is that I would have to now come to grips with a lot of the things that I said, a lot of the things that I did. And so I'm not willing to make that jump. And I don't know, is there anything that you could say that maybe, like what helped you, or what can help people to make that jump if they're because that truth that resides within something, that's an unspoken word. That's something that people they're not going to tell anyone. That's something that's an inner dialogue that's probably going on within them, that they're too scared to ever even voice it.
What is?
Just the idea of like, imagine like, well, if I'm wrong about this, then man, I've done some terrible things, or I've said some horrible things, and I've probably given some guidance maybe that was probably not the best guidance. And it's like admitting all that,
especially if you've got something to lose.
How do you get beyond that?
Well, especially if you've got something to lose, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know how I would mean that. How do you mean that?
Like,
if you have something to lose, I know what I'm thinking of. What are you thinking of?
Well, it could be family, right? For some people, it might be they might lose family in pulling out of their faith. They might lose their integrity once they were looked up as someone who's integral, and then
why would you be anything other than when no one's around? When you come home and no one's around, you might fart loudly as you walk into the house and eat and have crumbs fall down your chin. You hold yourself a certain way based on the environment that you're in. Yeah. So if there is a dichotomy within you that's like, well, I can't be that way. Like, I can't reveal that. To me, it would only show that it's like fear-based. Like I will lose something if I'm honest. I do care about honesty, but I understand that it's like we got a whole society built on like lies upon lies upon lies. This is a weird thing. I don't even know if we can talk about something like truth quite yet. We haven't even got to the point where people feel like they can be honest yet. I appreciate the honest approach that you're taking. I feel like it's a vital step going forward. I hijacked your question. What is your question, man? Did it have anything to do with what I said?
I was asking our guest, Jamin here. I was just saying, like, what any ideas or tips about kind of like how to deal with this dilemma.
Right. Well, you say some people aren't willing to. I would say a lot of people aren't able to. Like they have this stuff doesn't happen on the conscious level. Like I don't think that people think, but then what about what I believe, and then what about all the bad things that I've done? They just know I'm a good person. I don't do bad things, and what you're saying is that what I've done is bad, and I know that's not true. So I don't think that it's necessarily nearly the cognitive dissonance that we wish it was. It's just it's just a reaction. And so
it might be something that's coming near the end of that journey. That would be something, I guess, maybe that they go through near the end.
Right. Yeah. I read a quote from someone the other day that said, a good book is a book that you get at the right time in your life. And I thought that was really profound. Like it doesn't matter really how good the book is. It's whether or not it locks in with where you are. And I feel like that's true of ideas too. Like if you are, for some reason, the universe has prepared you for the idea that maybe the things that you've been doing haven't had the effect that you intended, then maybe you're ready for it. And you're probably going to get that message either through my book or through something else or through your own head. Like you're probably just ready for it. And so I don't know that like my book is like going to take lives and transform their minds or anything like that. But for the people who are on the edge, hopefully this is a compassionate, empathetic, like here's some thoughts that I've had a little farther down that path, and this can hopefully help you move more quickly through the things you're going to move through anyway. And so, yeah, for the people who are able, for the people who aren't able, again, like I can't hold that against them. I wasn't able. Man, that really sounds condescending. I don't mean it that way at all. But if they're not prepared to take a look at that, then I don't think you can do much. Except I will note that like the number one, as far as it, I read this somewhere too, it might be fake. It resonated, so I'm going to repeat it. The number one indicator of whether a fundamentalist was going to change their view on gay marriage was whether or not they met someone who was gay. Because you make exceptions in your head, and you're like, okay, well, gay people are horrible, except for my neighbor. My neighbor's a good one, you know. Or the same thing is true for I don't know if you've seen the documentary of the black dude that walks around and meets the KKK members, right?
Changes Nazis over to KKK guys over black guy that goes around does it. Jazz guy. Wow.
Right. And you can like see the transformation in their head. Like there, again, this is not on the conscious level. This is, I think, subconscious. Maybe it's conscious in this case because it's so obvious, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's subconscious that they're like, well, okay, yeah, but black people are still bad, but you're an exception. Right? And you see the same thing with the Nazis. Like the Nazis had their favorite Jews. Like we need to exterminate the Jews, but this is a good one here. To whatever extent that is true, that like actually engaging with the other that you think that you know, actually interacting with them can change your mind. I'm hopeful that this book offers that kind of a like, oh, I get it. These people aren't evil. They heard this message this way. And we've got this terrible miscommunication. We could be loving each other instead of me telling them that they're going to hell and them telling me that they have to go to therapy because of me. Like this could have ended better. And I probably should go apologize for what I've done or, whatever. The outcomes don't really matter if you can change your perspective of the other.
I think that's amazing. Like, because that is for sure what people need. You just gave a perfect example of it. People see an example of something, and then that's enough for them. You know, it's enough for them to go one at a time. Sometimes it's sad where it's like, well, I guess if everybody just knows a gay person that changes them, but if it does have a positive result, then that's your destiny, and that's what you're born to do, and you're doing it, and I think that's good. I think sometimes we face the thing, like, James, you probably resonate with this guy a lot. I'm a little more pointed sometimes. Like, sometimes I'm accusatory, and I don't always want to be that way. But
we say direct. Direct sounds nicer.
Direct, sure, yeah. But
you're very direct.
But I think some of that has to do with your own experience. You know, like I think about Christopher Hitchens or something like that. You know, like an atheist person that goes around and really argues and beats people over the head.
Yeah,
I enjoy his stuff, but I also enjoy the approach that you're taking. Like, I think you can be into more than one thing, sort of like you alluded to earlier. And I think some people's destiny is they're like, I'm just better at beating people over the head with the thing. That's my thing. Yeah. It's not always the proper tool for the job, but sometimes it is the way it is.
Was there a nihilism phase that happened after this, or like was there like I don't know? Can you remember like the moment something shifted in you and you're like, I don't think I'm this anymore?
No, not particularly. So when I left, like I said, I had these like theological questions floating around for a while. In fact, back, it must have been like 10 years before I even left the church. I had a blog called findinggoddespitereligion.com. And it was like the sneaking out a couple ideas of like, you know, this just seems weird, but you know, everything is normal, but this seems weird. So I think that had been brewing for a long time of like really wanting to engage on these topics, not so that I could prove Christianity wrong or any of that, just like the internal struggle of like, why do we have to say stuff that seems so weird and pretend it's not weird? Can we just say it's weird? We can still say it.
Those super edits of like Kenneth Copeland where he's like the blood, like he's like, it's just creepy. It's super creepy. Yes. Like I love
and
that.
They're all quotes from my sermons. This guy, like I said all of that. Yes. Hopefully with slightly less wild eyes, but yeah. So anyway, the answer to the question is my falling out of grace, that's being kicked out of the church, losing my entire community and my entire life. That was such a devastating
because you were employed in the church, right? You were like a working member, weren't you?
I employed other people in the church. Yes.
Right. So you were like you were just losing a way of life. You were losing your job.
Everything. Like, yes. I mean, that's its own million-word blog called almostaccult.com. But yes, I lost. There was a lot to lose there. And we had spent years preparing to lose it all, and still it went exponentially worse than we had planned. But anyway, so that was all so monumental in my experience that like the little stuff about like these theological questions didn't really make it onto the Richter scale, where for a lot of people they would have been life-changing. Like I've been recovering for the last 4 years from what happened psychologically and socially, even though it's all connected. That's really been the struggle. So there wasn't at any point I was like, oh, now I think I'm not a Christian. Like, who cares if you're a Christian or not? Like, are you alive or dead? Like, let's start there.
Jeez. So. Yeah. Like, okay. So this is in the States, right? Like, is this California. A very evangelical Christian community? Like, talk about that sounds very traumatizing to do what you like made a decision where you're like, this is, I don't know what the fallout from this is going to be, and then the fallout is like excommunication from your tribe. Sounds utterly traumatizing. And you are in front of us today, very grounded, very reasonable sounding.
Awesome. I'll take it.
And compelling, man. And like, that's important because a lot of people probably want to follow some of these thought things through, but are scared to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said, the the scary part to me was like the unraveling of it. Like you just keep falling. You keep expecting you're going to hit the bottom and like, okay, I'm going to end up like not an atheist. It's worse than that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you're going to end up not an atheist. And
unless you fall into some other ideology, unless you fall into
right.
the nest of some other like thing, but you've already done the
Yes.
work now on deconstructing it.
Right,
So-
right. Start another cult and you'll be fine. But if you are keep being honest, it's just gonna get worse. So yeah, it's I forget what the original question was though.
Who asked it? Was it me?
Oh, I don't know.
Sometimes I make a statement and it's like not even really a question. I think it was just about. I think it was just about like my curiosity, or I guess the thing I was recognizing was the severity of that. That you know, that's why I go back to what I was saying earlier. You know, I know what I meant by that. By sometimes people will go along with something because they know there's something to lose.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and whether that's just, you know, an ideology can become in someone's mind like equated with life and death. I was thinking about that on the way here, that sometimes if you are causing cognitive dissonance in someone, like let's say you're pointing out some things that are actually making them question their religious belief.
Yep.
It's like holding their head under water. You know what I mean? Like they're going to start like thrashing around. Like they might get violent. Like,
Right.
don't tell me that what I believe isn't true. And
Yeah.
I've seen people that are supposed to be holy and good and Christian get like cruel, get brutal in their
Right.
in like, we're a pack of wolves all of a sudden now. You flip the switch and we will laugh at you. We'll alienate you, and you're not part of this unless you're willing to be part of the love group. Because really,
Right.
you know, we're about love.
Well said.
But if you're against that, it's going to get crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
It's frightening, really. You know,
Yeah.
but so many things are like that. It's not just Christianity. I would imagine it's probably every religion on the planet could be like that at times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, and that's the point of the almost occult writing, is like for the thousands of people who went through the organization that I was a part of, I'm going to say somewhere in the 90 to 100% of them consider themselves to have been a part of a cult. And they all look back, and of course, when I left, they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, right." Like they were almost, a lot of them. Some of them, a lot of them were really good people. Some of them were really excited to see me, in pain, and rightfully so.
God.
I caused a lot of pain too, and others were excited to finally see that I like joined the side of like recognizing how much of a cult it was, and like I'm currently like, I feel like a cult is a type of relationship that you have. You could have come into the church and then not really gotten too involved and, you know, been blessed and walked out, and it wouldn't have been a cult to you, because the way that you interact with it, when you say to someone, here, I'm going to let you make decisions in my life for me, and they are evil, ignorant, naive enough to accept that responsibility and say, well, here's what God says you should do, or here's what I say you should do. And they're actually willing to answer that question that should not be answered. That's when you're in a cult. And it doesn't really matter if that happens at your gym or at your church or at your wherever it is. Like when you're giving the power of your life to somebody else and they're accepting that power, you're in a cult. So I don't think that the cult that I was a part of was necessarily more cultish than a lot of other churches, but our leadership was very willing to tell people how they were supposed to live. And I think a little bit of that is inherent in Christianity.
a lot of that's inherent in our society. Like,
Yes.
like that is the dynamic of most things. If I don't care if it's a knitting group, it's like, are you part of this, Ethel, or not? You know what I mean? And once you're in, like, somebody got to take the role of has all the answers, and they're like, all right, I have all the answers. Yeah. And if you don't listen to me, like, you know, you'll be excommunicated.
Right.
So many things are like that.
Yes.
Not just religions. Jobs are like that, you know?
Yeah, and let me just to bring it back to our original topic. I think that's where a lot of the miscommunication happens, because people come in saying, "Oh, you're a man of God. I want to know what God says. You're the man, so tell me what God says." They tell them, it doesn't go well. They leave, and they have just been in a cult, and this person over here doesn't think they're a cult leader, and So they're going to go and, of course, be bitter and angry and hurt. And yes, they're going to need therapy. They're going to need a lot of stuff to overcome that interaction this intimate interaction that they just had that they shouldn't have had. Meanwhile, this person over here didn't intend any of it. You said, what has God said? I opened up the Bible. I read you some words that I didn't write. Like, how are you going to be mad at me for this? Like, this is my calling. God has called me to this. I'm not trying to wreck your life or fix your life or change your life. You just asked me. So those kinds of miscommunications, I think, are detrimental to, we could just say humanity. Like
it's a weird triangular dynamic that happens, and it like cults even need a cult leader, which gets to do things that the members don't get to do. Like, hey man, I noticed you've been drinking a lot lately. Like, stop it. The leader is sipping the communion wine and sleeping with prostitutes. He's under so much pressure. You know, you don't know what it's like to have a direct channel to the Lord. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's so weird. The things that, like, of course they've got to like drown themselves. They got to like stay out of it because they know they're lying to everyone, because it's freaking just layers upon layers of delusion everybody's participating in.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I think, so I didn't know when I was there. So at least some of them are not aware, but I think a lot of them, a growing number, in the same way that a growing number of people in the congregation are like, man, I don't think I can do this anymore. And they're leaving. And the church doesn't really understand why. I think there's a lot of pastors that are like, they haven't come to like the realization yet. Again, like, so much of this stuff happens subconsciously, but they're like, man, this is really like the burnout rate for pastors is incredibly high. And they email me with their questions. I'm like, I'm a piano teacher. You're the like, people are coming to you, and I can't say that because they already know. People are coming to me. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. You know,
some of them are good. Some of them are good people. Even the past, like, even the people that are like, have to live with the role that they've taken at the end of the night, you know, leading this flock in a cult leader type way. Some of them are actually decent people, I would imagine. The type of people that reach out to you and like, what the hell do I do?
Yeah,
you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, and just like questions about not even like theology as much as just like, I think I'm going to have to get another job, and like, what's the market out there? You know, just I can't bring myself to do this anymore. What do you're a former pastor, you're a former minister. What do you do? How do you get out? Kind of stuff, which is, you know, that's really heartbreaking, because there again, if you have something to lose, these people have a lot to lose, and they believe fully still, they've been called by God to say things that they don't believe themselves. And that sucks. Like, what do you do when you disagree with God? You quit. You find another job.
He who loses himself for me gains the world. I'm a little bit, you know, I know it's a tall order to ask, and I shouldn't be so reckless with how I say this, but sometimes I suggest, like, man, there's a lot of people that need existential crisis. There's a lot of people that need to like start telling the truth, have a bunch of stuff fall away, and then like maybe be in like a several-month depression, curled up in the fetal position until things make sense again. Like, I don't want to say that too meanly, but I honestly feel like our society in a lot of ways is like a house of cards. Like, it's
Well, let's say this then. Let's say this then. If you are in a crisis and you are curled up in the corner, you probably didn't want to bring this on yourself, and a lot of us have been there, and there's something after that. So just stay there. You need to spend some time there. That's cool, but also this is going to the waves subside. You know, you still get a tide every now and then, but things do even out. You get more used to the chaos that you're currently feeling.
That's a good segue for my next question. I wanted to ask you, kind of like now that the dust is kind of settled and you're in this place, like right now, are you kind of like residing in like I'm just going to sit in a not knowing atheistic spot right now, or is there any room for spirituality? Is there mystery and all that you know stuff? Is there like whereabouts are you now?
Right? Yeah. Well, see, here's the funny thing is, like by the definitions, like I said before, I'll list for you what it means to be a Christian. I try to do a little bit in the book. I don't fit any of that, so I'm definitely not a Christian. Also, I do more Christian things than back when I was a Christian. I'm praying more. I am more in touch with. I will avoid saying the spiritual realm, but the sacred divinity that seems more ubiquitous now than it ever seemed before. I'm more in awe of God is such a tiny word. So I'm going to not say the word God just because I think that's disrespectful to the thing I'm talking about. Like I'm so much more aware of my lack of ability to control the universe and my insignificance in it, and the beauty that I am the star of a show that is me. So like I'm the most important person and not important at all at the same time. Like all of the Bible verses that I memorized that were really dry are like more alive.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing?
How, so I've felt like telling Christians that sometimes, like, man, you're gonna get a whole lot more out of your Bible when you're ready to like piss on it. You know what I mean? Like I know that's like a dramatic way to say it, but it's like the thing that could be holding back the key to understanding some of these things is your egoic attachment to it. If you could relinquish that, then you might start to see things a lot differently. And some people do that. I think even as still Christians, they unlock a little bit of that.
Sure. But when you leave your presuppositions about what the endpoint is supposed to be, you have so many more possibilities for what you can get out of it. And my analogy in the first book, if I'm really honest, is like if you taught that like the tortoise and the hare, but you taught it as like literal like creationists do, like no, there was a hare and this was his name and there was a tortoise, and if you don't believe that they were real, then you like no, there's a story here. Like whether it's real or not, sure, it's real, it's fake, I don't care. There's so much more to get out of this thing than what you are trying to get out of it in your specific detailed telling of it. So yeah,
I crashed into a building avoiding hitting that tortoise because I've freaking never been the same since. Yeah.
So I don't know, like as far as where I currently am, like I don't identify as an atheist, but again, like theist and atheist, like that, these terms seem for me so insignificant in comparison to the thing that seems so obvious to me. And so I wouldn't dare call this thing God because I wouldn't want to disrespect it. But we don't have a bigger word than that. So, you know, people end up with like woo-woo phrases and stuff that sound silly. So I don't know what to call it, but I know that when the sun rises every morning and when the sun sets every night, and when the moon rises and sets, like I have such a greater communion with God than I ever had when I was in communion with God. So I don't know.
I don't think that there's just one cognitive dissonance either. I don't think that there's just one revelation. Like, you know, sometimes in some of the other spiritual things that we study, you come across this, there's always this idea of finality, like finally awake, finally saved, finally enlightened, finally nirvana, like, and then you're just sustainably whatever. And I'm idealistic enough that I'm like, I kind of do like that. Like I am like the idea of a final thing, but it does seem like there is more revelations to be had. Like, you know, just because you go through the dark night of the soul and you come back on the other side and you're like, wow, I didn't know life could be so full of meaning from the position of nihilism. Like, wow, life is what I make it. There could be in a few years another moment where you're like, I gotta go into the cave for a few weeks again, you know what I mean? And come out again with a new lease on life yet again. I think that can happen too.
Yeah.
You know, that you can go through cycles where it's exciting for a while, this new version of things, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, and like that's what we were saying before about like the most likely thing you're going to do when you leave a cult is join another cult. So whatever revelation you have that you feel like is the final revelation, again, this is what Jesus was warning about. So that's not your final revelation, but have fun with it. That's great. Like be in it, but just, I would recommend you avoid saying the phrase, I finally understand.
Yes.
You don't.
And I even love that you said enjoy it and like have fun with it, because really it's like, you really want to stand over a group of people playing Monopoly and be like, this is just a game, you idiots. They're like, get out of here. We're playing a game here. You know, like, let them see what happens with that game to its full conclusion, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you were playing it before too.
Right. Yeah. The analogy I use is love. Like, it's probably biochemicals and stuff, like like the feelings that you have for your loved ones are describable largely in science. Also, the experience of those chemicals is something entirely different. So like if you try to like, okay, but like I really only care about the truth, so I know now that love doesn't exist. Well, your life's gonna suck. And you're right, love doesn't exist. But if you don't live as if it does, you're probably gonna miss out on maybe the best thing that we have here. Yeah. So I kind of feel the same way about so I hate spirituality, that but I need another word for that. But like there's something to the human experience that can't that is not well described in words. And so must be experienced some things, you know. Mm-hmm. Even some things that are some of the hardest to explain things might be somebody that you see at the end of something that they tried really hard to accomplish, and they're sweating and they're crying and they're exhausted, and you go like, why did you put yourself through that? Yeah. I think some things can only, you know, while you don't feel the endorphins that I feel right now, that's why.
Well, someone I know that I follow, they'll call it like on transcendence. There's states of on transcendence to still be experienced here, you know, and appreciated through the mystery of what we're all doing here. You know, you can still have that. There's plenty of that actually, at every turn. I want to kind of like just give a scenario here where, say, someone's watching this interview and they're in the spot you were in right when this felt like maybe, you know, your life was crashing down. Do you have any advice for that person who's in that spot, in that place?
Don't look at my first reaction, because man, it sucks. Maybe find someone who is willing to just say it sucks and just be there, because I don't know of a fix, and I haven't found anyone that has a fix for it. And I think it's the loss of a loved one, whether that's a person or an ideology, just requires some grief, for all I know. And again, I don't know much, so I would first recommend don't ask me. But if I was there, I would tell you that I love you and I'm sorry, and it frequently gets better over time.
And you're not alone.
You're not alone. Yeah, and I don't know what I would tell former Jamin, like, who's going through that. Like, man, I don't know. But a lot of us have made it, and you can make it too, and you're not alone. And yeah, it sucks.
Well, hey, I think something even like that can be a beautiful thing and helpful even in the moment, you know? Yeah. Where do you kind of see things going now with what you're doing? Yeah, I know I see all those musical instruments behind you. Yeah. You know, I'm sure there's been a transformation even in your creative style and your music. I don't know if you're writing songs and.
So I do a lot of music education. So I'm more of an educator than I am a musician. So I love seeing people, like the aha moment of like, you don't get it and you think it's all stupid, and then you realize, oh, it just goes like this. Like, that's my favorite, and it doesn't matter if it's in science or history or music or whatever. I personally love music. So separately, I love music and I love education, and I happen to like get to operate in the space where those overlap. So that's really cool. As far as like theology and stuff or books, like I told someone else asked me, like, you know, about book 3 or how I feel, what's coming up next. And I'm like, I feel at the end of a good throw up. Just like,
that's a good one.
Okay, cool. Like, that's not in me anymore. And that is how I felt at the end of the first book. So, you know, maybe there's another one following up. You know, you never know at the end of a good throw up. But like, I don't have aspirations to change the church or to change people outside of the church or to fix the world or anything. I'm trying to be honest, and whether that's, you know, in music lessons that I'm teaching or in theological conversations with friends or whatever. I think people are beautiful and I love interacting with them. And I think if we're all more honest, then we're all going to make it a lot farther.
Oh, hell yeah. You come off as all the things that you say.
Yeah.
You communicate that all well.
Well, Jamin, I want to thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
This has been awesome having you share your story with us and all your insights there. Maybe to close things out, you could let our audience know, you know, where they can find you, what websites maybe you got going on, and we'll leave links in the description so they can find you, but I'll let you have the final word.
Yeah, if you can find the domain findinggoddespitereligion.com without misspelling it, then congratulations. I would probably just click on the link below, but reach out whether you've gone through it or you're on the precipice and you can feel it coming. If there's anything I can do to help out, I always want to. So
amazing. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
So much.
Thank you.